helicopter?
It's
No, it
live.
just sounded like wind. All right,
Okay.
y'all, we are live up in this joint. What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Happy
Hello.
Sunday, Feliz Domingo, everyone. Because we're all well, Sonia, you're almost technically you in Texas. You in a Spanish speaking place too.
Yeah, I'll be in Mexico October 10th.
Wow.
Okay, so all right, everybody, welcome to um, the the afternoon discussion gala for this Sunday, October 2nd. You guys, thanks everybody for who is going to be joining, chiming in, all of that good stuff. We are today, I'll just give you a quick snippet. We're going to be talking about dating, fetishes, online sites, our experiences, all kinds of good stuff to this afternoon, right? I'm Ali. If you guys don't already know, if you're on my channel, you probably already know that. And I'm living abroad, moving and shaking and doing all kinds of things. And this topic comes up quite often, in maybe more of a, just kind of a off sidebar kind of conversation like, hey, do you date? How does that happen? This and that. And so I've had these dating conversations a couple of different times because I have been traveling for the majority of the last 24 months. And so I thought it would be best if I brought on two fantastic, lovely ladies who are also in this travel sphere with me to share some of their experiences and kind of just set a realistic stage for people who want to do something similar to what we're doing, which is moving around, moving and shaking, doing whatever, relocating, nomading, whatever the case may be. And then, and considering wanting to have companionship as a part of that journey. So let's introduce everybody. Y'all already know I'm Ali. This is my YouTube channel, Where's Ali? If you guys haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button so that you know when I'm going live. Whenever I go live, because ain't no telling when I'm going to do that. And you can jump in the conversations. We're also going to share the ladies' contact links and for IG, YouTube, whatever they have, that'll be in the description once this video posts on YouTube. But in the short term, let's get these ladies introduced. I've got Joy and Sonia with me today. So, Joy, why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you are, if you're not worried about stalkers, um, relationship status, and then also just go ahead and verbally share your contact information.
Perfect. Thank you, Ali. My name is Joy at Soul Kitchen Lifestyle. That is the handle, the brand. And right now I am in Mexico, kind of central South Mexico, in a beautiful spot called San Miguel Allende. It's so gorgeous, guys. I mean, you just have to come here. And I just relocated here. Let's see. What else, Ali? Handle?
Your handle, and if you want to share your relationship status.
Oh, yes, relationship status. Handle is still Soul Kitchen underscore lifestyle on IG, and on YouTube, it's Soul Kitchen Lifestyle. And I am very, very, very single. Sometimes I say I'm chronically single, but it's all good. Yes, single, ready to mingle.
I love it. Thank you, Joy. All right, Sonia, it is your turn to introduce yourself. Sonia, I said Sonia like A, but you know.
Sonia, yes, it's sometimes I'm just kind of like, how do I even pronounce it? Because I hear so many things. So,
So
but that being said, I am Sonia. My YouTube channel is Sonia Unapologetic. I am in Texas right now, but I am about to be in Playa del Carmen, Mexico for a bit. But spend a little bit of time in Merida, Mexico, and then we'll just see where it goes from there. I also spent 5 months in Playa del Carmen earlier this year. So, yeah, I've been kind of bopping back and forth. But I am single. And I guess, like Joy said, like, I used to say single because when you're single with no kids and there's just like none of that responsibility, I'm like, I'm single. So, but that being said, I like it. I'm in a good, place with that and feeling free with that. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Fantastic. Well, welcome, ladies, to the show. I feel like Bob Barker, y'all know, on The Price is Right. So let's get started, okay? So I want to kind of set the stage because this is a fun topic, but it's also such an important topic. I mean, at least for me, because I'm also single. I guess I should tell everybody where I am and what I'm doing with my life. I'm currently in Ecuador. Um, yeah, I'm currently in Ecuador, kind of just moving around, checking out different cities down here. I am very, very, very single. I will piggyback off of both Joy and Sonia. I am very single out here in these streets, y'all. You're on my YouTube, so my handle is Where's Ali, and on Instagram I'm Where to Next _ Ali. But you guys see all that in the description. But I want to kind of open this up and let people know about us because we're going to be talking about this experience with dating, kind of the ups and downs, pros, cons, whatever we want to call it. But I think we're here because we, kind of, all chimed in on this single but ready to mingle. Like we are interested, we're in our prime of life, and it would be nice to consider companionship, right? And to be able to do it wherever we are, right? So that's the whole point of this. Like, I don't think we decide to leave our home base where we grew up to go somewhere and be, solo. Not everybody decides to go the solo route forever. A lot of times you do look for companionship. So we want to talk about like our journey. So before that, let's just give people a little taste of who we are. We could kind of just like chime in, or we could just go around however you guys want to do it. I want to kind of keep this open because we are live and make this, fun for our audience as well. So I'm going to just start right off. And the one of the toughest questions, because I think, this is a tough one for me, and it's not a bad question, but it's one of those questions for us travelers. When people say, where's the favorite place that you've been internationally or domestically? So let's start there. Ladies, where have you been that you love?
That is such a hard question, Ali. I get asked this question all the time, and I'm like, I really, there's different places. I like them for different things, right? You just kind of find the charm in different places that you go to. And personally, for me, I love being by the beach, having gorgeous views. So Thailand has always been a fan favorite. Like, I've been there 3 times, and I keep saying, I'll keep coming until y'all tell me I can't come anymore. Otherwise, I'm gonna still be here. So Thailand was gorgeous for that. Croatia was the same thing. And then I think like maybe a polar opposite would be maybe San Miguel. Because I like the beaches, right? But I also love architecture, beautiful buildings. So I want to say San Miguel and Switzerland. Zurich is also really gorgeous in that kind of way. Switzerland is also up there as well. I mean, the place is so gorgeous. It's like a walking magazine. Like this shit is not even real. Um, so those have up off the top of my head, I will say those have been places that I've loved and I keep going back to.
Fantastic. What about you, Sonia?
I still have a lot of places on my list to go to, so I can't wait to get to Thailand. But like Joy said, different places provide different things. Like Mexico City, provided a lot of the things that you would be used to in the US. It felt like a New York City, but in Mexico. So I mean, that was really great for you just have whatever you'd be used to in the US, but that culture, so much culture there. But then Mexico City doesn't have the beach, and it's really really busy. So even though I loved it there, I was like, oh, I'm missing Playa del Carmen. I'm missing just having that little beach town to where I can just walk around. And not feel like I'm gonna get hit by a car, because that's I mean, Mexico City is like you can walk, but there was just so much, traffic. I'm like, I'm gonna have to walk across how many lanes of traffic? Like, this little walkable map didn't let me know it was gonna be 8 lanes of traffic that I'm walking across. But I feel like still feel like there's a lot of places that I want to visit. And I don't I mean, we'll see if I ever have like a favorite, because I feel like different places will provide, different, things for me.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, we might have to jump on some of this list. I will add into the mix. Portugal is one of my fave places. Thailand. I knew you were going to say that, Joy, so I had to jump in on Thailand. Um, Kenya, Diani Beach. So the coast, but Diani was like my most favorite. Even though I've been to Zanzibar, Diani was like, that's like home. I feel like home to me. So if I had to name three, I think I would go with those three as my most favorite places. That does not say anything negative about all the other places that I've been to that I didn't name. Those are just the ones that immediately like pop up in my head. All right, so this is the get to know us session part, y'all. So whoever is tuned in, we are just sharing a little bit about ourselves as we get into this conversation about dating. So you kind of get an idea of where we've been, and so you'll better understand our position in this isn't just a hypothetical and if I would and if I could kind of thing. It's kind of, this has been the experience and or the feel. All right, so what type of traveler are you ladies? I'll chime in. I'm a solo nomadic wandering spirit, now slow traveler. And for those who don't know, I call slow traveling anything more than like a month. So when you hit that third or fourth week and you're buying mops, I would call that slow travel. So ladies, what kind of travelers are you?
Okay, so I would say that now I am a solo traveler, that I'm hopping on the plane and by myself, but I'm meeting someone there. And then also I'm the type of traveler to where let's not have some type of itinerary. Let me just kind of explore and be free. And, if there's a day that I don't want to do absolutely nothing, then allow me to do that. And then now I think that I'm more of a slow traveler as well, because if you're going somewhere for a week, it's just you feel like you're rushing things. And that's how I used to travel. And I used to travel with groups of people, to where I felt like, okay, I don't want to go anywhere by myself. And those traveling experience ended up me being to where I was rushed and stressed, and you're not being able to do what you want to do because your friends have this itinerary. And I would leave that vacation feeling like I need a vacation for my vacation. And even though all the pictures were nice and smiling, well, I would just be like, really, I had a horrible time. I mean, there was some bits and pieces in there that I enjoyed, but the fact that it was such a rush, and you're rushing everywhere, and you're not getting to necessarily do things you want to do. You have to do what the group wants to do. That's for me traveling of the past. Now I have to slow travel and solo, but then meet up with the group as well, but also be able to do some things on my own.
Okay. Hey, Joy, we lost you for a minute. My apologies. I'm not sure what happened. What kind of traveler are you, lady?
Might be frozen. Oh,
Yeah, you okay. I think we got you back, Joy, but I can't hear you. It's it's going in and out. It's going in and out. Let's see. See if you can unmute your mic again, Joy. But you're frozen right now. Yo, these are the quirks of we lost her. We're gonna bring her back because Joy has been traveling. I'll just give y'all a quick on how I know the ladies really quick while we see if Joy jumps back on. Is I met Joy when I was making my way around Thailand, my second time in Thailand earlier in 2022 after I left Kenya. Ended up meeting Joy because I went to Thailand and was in this Asian, Black and Asia group, and decided to see if people wanted to meet up, do meet and greet or whatever. And Joy knew someone who was in the group, and that person came to our meetup and brought Joy with them. So had she not have done that, I never would have met Joy. And so, or I could assume I wouldn't have met Joy because Thailand is a huge place, y'all. If you have not been, it's huge. Okay. So that was really cool because we've connected since then and it's been awesome. And then Sonia, we met from, I think, just groups from Dallas in, on social media. And we didn't officially meet face to face until I just got back to Dallas in 2022, but we've been following each other probably for at least for the last couple of years when I was gone. Mm-hmm. And so we've had some connection and ties. She's in the film industry. I was interviewing those in the film industry. I'm the red carpet interviewer. She's on the red carpet kind of thing. And so we ended up meeting, doing an official meet and greet, hug, what's up, sis, kind of thing.
Was it in August or was it in September?
It had July. I want to say August of this year, or maybe even before then, because I left in July. It had to be
like the very end of July, maybe, huh?
Well, I left the 17th and went to Belize. And then I was gone for 3 weeks, and I came back early August. And I can't remember. Maybe we hung out during that second trip. Okay, so
Sandra is joining. Hey, Sandra from Lax one of our panel members from one of our previous conversations.
Yes, Sandra, let me know if you want to jump on this panel. This is live and direct. So we're waiting for Joy to jump back on, but in the meantime, I'm hoping she can get back on. I know sometimes, like I said, this data and technology thing, it can be perfect all day when you're by yourself, and I swear as soon as you get ready to go live or do whatever, all of a sudden it's glitching. But she is in a beautiful place, and I am semi-jealous of where she is, but I'm sure we'll cross paths again. All right, so Sonia, let us continue, because this is a good combo here that we want to get to. We want to get to the dating part. Sandra says she is at the beach. Really? That's what we're doing? Okay.
Can't wait to get there. Sandra, save me a beach chair.
So Sandra, are you in Playa right now? I know yesterday you jumped on.
Sandra's in Playa. Yes, she is. And me and Sandra are gonna be Golden Girls when I maybe not so much of Golden Girls, but when I go to Playa, we'll be roomies.
Nice. So Sandra, you can chime in on some of this. We're talking about dating, fetishes, organic dating, dating abroad, the way we want to do this, or how do we do this, or should we do this? Should we bring our sand with us to the beach? Should we find some new sand? All of that we're going to be talking about. So let's get into the nitty gritty. So Sonia, you've been moving around a little bit. What's just in general, and you you stated you're double single, single,
Mhm.
single, and open to mingle. What's your take on dating when you're not back, when you're not in? I want to say when you're not in Dallas, when you're not in the States,
Mhm.
but really, I kind of want to say since you've been kind of removed from the US, even though you're there now, it's kind of a short stint, but you
Mhm.
were gone for 5 months in Mexico.
Yeah.
What's your take on dating when you're not in the States?
So for me, while in Playa del Carmen, I really was not focused on dating any guys in Playa. 'Cause I think I was just trying to get everything together. So some of the conversations, that I had were just kind of with guys that I had, dated or talked to in the past. Um, so the whole concept of bringing sand to the beach, I thought that that's the way I was going to do things, because I'm like, okay, there's this these cultural barriers, and a lot of times if you go to any area to where the people are struggling financially, there's that concern that they might see you as, ooh, you know, this person, here's the person from the US, and she's going to be the one, financially taking care of me. And I've witnessed, sisters who travel a lot and they go to certain countries and they fall victim to that, to where, the people are really, in an impoverished, situation, and they meet guys where it's like, oh, I love you so much. Oh yeah, of course he loves you, and I've talked to guys online to where they were from other countries, to where they're having a hard time financially, and one guy was just telling me, um I have to have a woman from the US. And it's just like, why is it that you can't date? And I want a wife so bad too. I want a wife so bad, but I want a wife from the US. And it's like, okay, what's the reason behind you are single and you want a family, but you have to have a wife from the US? And so that's something that you have to be aware of. So for me, I had a lot of communication with guys that maybe I used to date or knew in the US. But one thing you have to be careful about that as well. One thing that started to get my spidey senses going is when guys were like, um, oh yeah, it's like, I'm gonna be in Playa. Let me know when I can come. It's like, what do you mean let you know when you can come? It's like, if you're gonna come on vacation, I mean, just come on vacation, and I'll be here for 5 6 months, whatever. And so, we'll link up. But I realized that a lot of guys looked at the situation from, she's in Playa del Carmen, she has her apartment there. I'm gonna have someone to show me around, have a free tour guide. She has her apartment, there's some snacks in the refrigerator. I don't have to get a hotel. Um, so a lot of that, I realized that, okay, when I was in the US, especially if they live in another city, how much did you come visit me in the US or made an effort when we were in the US? And so that's something that you have to be careful of when you're like, oh, I'll just bring my sand to the beach. Like, what is your relationship with this guy? And is he coming for the benefits only, of what, how financially this vacation can be very cheap because I have a place to stay, I have, a free tour guide and all of this stuff. So I had to be aware of that. And then it started to kind of feel like a turnoff, especially if you're you're not in a relationship with this guy, it made me feel like, is this guy going to come to Playa? And because there's no label there, then he's feeling like, okay, when I do go and walk around, then I'm going to also see what other women that, I can, possibly hook up with. And then the small community that we are of Black women, am I going to have a guy that I'm talking to that's come to Playa, and then one of my sisters at the brunch is going to be like, man, I talked to this guy named John, not any guy's real name. And then I'm like, wait a minute, John then hooked up with one of my Playa sisters, and then when he leave, here's all this mess that he's left behind. So yeah, I feel like there's some things we have to think about when it comes to bringing sand to the beach. Is this a guy that you're already in a long distance relationship with, and y'all have some type of label and he's just coming to visit you? Or is this someone to where it's going to just cause more confusion than what it's worth? So that being said, there's a couple of guys who have come to Playa, and but then I'm just like, this don't feel attractive anymore. It just feel like there's going to be a lot of confusion. It's going to be a lot of stress, because then he's coming into a situation and asking me to plan out a whole itinerary like I'm a travel agent.
Listen, you said like 5 mouthfuls on here. Okay, so for everybody, Joy is working on it. She's having some internet issues, so hopefully she can jump back in and join us. But okay, Sonia said, first of all, I want to go back to the cultural barriers, because I think a lot of times that's one of the things we miss, right? Oh, there's Joy. Oh boy. All right.
I'm back. Sorry, guys. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
Talk
Lord.
about a cherry on top. Retrograde
So
cherry
I see you
on top.
went inside. Was it because you were outside?
I don't know. So I had to come back inside and change to my phone instead of my computer. Everything over there said we're not working.
Okay. All right, y'all. This is when we do another talk, where maybe we'll talk about some of the things that we experience when we are traveling and access. And sometimes it is a phenomenal, because I will say in Thailand, I had no issues, but in other places in the world I had. Okay, so Sonia just gave us, we were literally just doing your take on dating outside of your home base. But I think we missed your input on, you already talked about places you've been, type of travel. Did you say what type of type of traveler you are? That's where we left off. Yes.
That's where it cut off. So I'm predominantly a solo traveler. I do, do group travels, maybe with friends and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I go to all these places by myself. I just kind of book it. There's a sense of freedom that just comes with doing whatever the heck I want. I love being with people, but I feel like I can enjoy myself even more when I travel solo. But the cool thing is that everywhere I go solo, I'm always making friends. So I'll be with people anyway.
Yeah. It's funny, because when you were gone, I kind of shared how I know both you and Sonia, and I mentioned how we ended up, spur meeting in Thailand. First of all, my spur of even being in Thailand and setting up the group, kind of meet and greet. And you literally came you weren't even in the group. They got the notification. You met Takeshi literally the night before, or something like that. And
yes, I met her the night before walking down a street. With my shopping bags. I was just gonna check out a few things. I was like, oh my gosh, hi. And we became best friends.
Yeah. and luckily you came to the event. And like I said, you never know who you're gonna meet. And that's why I love doing organic. So when we talk about the dating sites versus organic dating and things like that, I think one of the things that I definitely want to share is, or talk about, is places where it's best to do either one, or based on our experiences. But had you not have linked up and Kiki hadn't said, "Hey, you want to come to this meet and greet?" Like we probably would not know each other, at all. So it's fantastic, and I love that you said that, because a lot of times people assume that if you're like, people ask me all the time, "Are you going solo?" I'm like, "No, there's like 120 people on the plane, so I'm not by myself." And we literally are all going to the same destination, so I'm not by myself. But people think that, and I'm just like, one of the things that we'll get into as a part of this conversation too are types of places that you can go where it's easier to meet people organically. And I will say that there, I can name some places where you can go and there's tons of people and people hang out and all that, but it's not individually welcoming like that, where you can just walk into a space and just like strike up conversation, because y'all know I'm a strike up conversation kind of person. And if I'm gonna say that it's probably not a strike up conversation kind of place, then it probably ain't. It probably just ain't. I'm just gonna keep it real, right? So Sonia just laid down some details on her take on dating outside of her home country, and I'm just gonna piggyback off of a couple of things. Sonia started talking about cultural barriers. She started talking about sugar mama hood, because that's what it basically is. I translated. She didn't say sugar mama, but basically that's where, it's like this concept of, do you like me because I'm your ticket to getting things paid for? And then the idea of bringing sand to the beach from home. Is that person actually interested, or just taking advantage of the fact that you're somewhere, which speaks so much? So like, oh, so he can't travel by himself. And I've experienced this. I could literally talk about a specific situation. But there are people who will literally travel with you so that they can get to know a space because they know somebody there. And like Sonia mentioned, because y'all don't have a title, an arrangement, an agreement, he out kicking it with other people that you will be fellowshipping with. And now you're like, okay, are y'all, and I'm going to tell y'all, I literally feel like I had that happen when I was in Mexico. So I'm just going to leave it out. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at that for now, y'all. So
that's an offline conversation, huh?
Listen, yeah, we're going to have a back office.
It might have been the same dude, Ali. That's why I told him to stay in the U.S. No.
Oh my God! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! So Joy, what is your take on dating outside of whatever home is back in the States?
Ooh, that is like all up in the air for me, because even the U.S., I am an immigrant to the U.S., right? And so for me, dating outside of home is very common because I feel like everywhere that I go, I just create my little home and it becomes where I am for the time. So I'm totally open. I don't feel like I am tied to like certain people, certain places. I have to do this here. I don't really feel that pressure. So when I'm out and about, I'll try and meet people, but we're going to get there. We're going to get to that part of the conversation, but I think it's cool. I've never brought anyone with me while I'm traveling, because I do a lot of solo travels. And so I've never brought a partner or anything like that with me, but that's so interesting. The concept of them wanting to come with you because they're trying to see the plays. That is, oof. And the sugar mama ring, Sonia, ooh, my goodness. So transactional, like those, just transactional. And I think a lot of places do try to take advantage of foreigners, which I think is quite shitty, to be honest. But sometimes that's how it is, especially in Diani. Ali, you talked about Kenya. Boy, I'm from Kenya, and we just know the coast with, I don't, what do they call them?
Beach Boys.
Beach Boys.
Oh.
The Beach Boys. Yo, the Beach Boys are gnarly and aggressive, and they know what they want, and they will go for it at whatever cost. So I think there's so many different facets. It's so complex when it comes to dating in different places, what that looks like, the cultures and expectations as well.
Yes, yes. And I will have to say, because I did list Diani as one of my favorite places, and it's because I am a more of a seasoned traveler. And so for me, I knew how to combat the aggressiveness right on, right? And you can do it without being aggressive. So even though my personality is like I can be kind of crass to some people, I learned how over time traveling as a solo, and that could be a whole nother conversation that we can have as well, is let's talk about ways to manage in these other spaces, because even though we are free or trying to free ourselves from the confines of the West or from the US or from America, whatever, wherever we're coming from, we still walk in those spaces with that mentality. No matter what, it takes a while. It takes 21 to 28 days just to get it on a different eating cycle. So you can't just overnight go, okay, well, I'm going to get on a plane, and then when I get to such and such, I ain't gonna be American no more. It's a lie, because this is what we naturally do. We have natural expectations. We naturally respond a certain way. And one of the first things that I will share specifically with our American sisters is personal space does not exist anywhere except the United States of America. Anywhere. It does not exist. You could be on a 14-lane highway and you on the furthest left lane like you running track, and I swear for God, somebody will walk by you right here like all them lanes ain't open. And that's just a thing. I don't know if it's this magnetizing kind of thing or whatever, but that is one of the things. And so maybe we'll do another kind of show talking about, safety, but just knowing how to manage in different cultural spaces. So I want to kind of go back to cultural barriers, because I think, Joy, you we're alluding a little bit to that, given your history, where you come from, and, just direct knowledge, not being a tourist. I know you're a tourist now in some places, but you come from Kenya. You lived in Kenya before you came to the States. And for me, I'm living in other places. I lived in Africa for a year. I was in Tanzania and Kenya, and did a little stint in Egypt. So I think I got a little bit of everything in that last year, but it was still from a tourist perspective. It was still from a Western kind of perspective. So when we talk about cultural barriers, I think it's necessary to caveat the statement, because a lot of times people can get offended when you're talking about it. People can misinterpret, and or we go in with this grandiose belief that, oh my God, all our kings are and we're just gonna walk right in and we're gonna find a king. I'm gonna tell you might, because there's some success stories. But the big thing is knowing what you want. So how, like in the US, we always say, what do you want? What do you want in a relationship, and all of that. And somehow I think we think that when we go somewhere else, especially as Black women, y'all, the depravity of the successful relationship is just so huge. It's such a huge discussion point that I think a lot of times we go to other places with a false sense of what to expect and what we're going to get. We looking for, I'm going to keep it real, the man dingo, the man single, man, whatever, the Boaz, the Shoaz, whatever somebody's in. We just assume that we're going to get it. And I'm going to tell you what, you can get it, because we're going to get into the conversation about fetish. And thank you, Joy, for bringing this up, because I was hoping that we would go in this direction. Before we talk about fetishes and that kind of thing, along with because this is a cultural conversation as well, is do you ladies have a type? Like, when you're in the States and now you're traveling abroad, do you look and go, okay, so let's say my first type as a Black woman is I want a Black man, I want a Black king, right? Well, if I go to Switzerland, I'm probably I mean, you know what I'm saying? So do you guys, and I'm not saying like that's my type, but I'll talk about, how I graduated and what that looks like. Do you guys have a preference when it comes to dating?
I feel like now that just over time, now I'm realizing that I don't necessarily have a preference. And when people ask me, like, okay, what is it that you like? It's so hard to explain because a lot of times I'll just see a guy, I'm like, oh, I find him attractive. And then I'll find different types of guys attractive. So, people are like, well, everyone has a type, and it just ends up being hard to explain because I feel like, oh, I just kind of know when I see a guy if I, find him attractive, or not. So yeah, I feel like, as I've gotten older, I don't necessarily have a type anymore. And a lot of the type that I have probably goes with personality, like certain, you know, things, certain, behaviors and arrogance and whatever will make a guy appear unattractive to me. So it's like I feel like I know what I don't want, but then more than physically, what I have as a type.
Okay. Sonia, I feel like you skated around there. You like Black men?
Um,
I'm gonna mess with you because we didn't have these conversations many a time. Everybody in the audience going, that beautiful lady up there, she won't me. That's what I'm saying.
um, man, that's why are you putting me on the spotlight? Okay, so this is what I'm gonna say. I have only dated Black men, but now that I've gotten older, I feel like I have to open my options because I feel like it doesn't make sense, especially women who are in a travel group. I saw a lot of situations to where sisters feel like, okay, I want to go to Thailand or whatever, but where am I going to find a Black man? And I feel like the brothers are very realistic when they're traveling. They didn't come to Mexico because I only date Black queens. And so when Black women are in situations to where they're just kind of like, yeah, I saw some of the other expat brothers, but they was really acting like they didn't like Black women, or they wasn't, it's like because they didn't come all the way to Mexico. They didn't go to Thailand. They didn't go to Switzerland because, I only date Black queens and I'm on this expat journey, but it's like they're so realistic. And a lot of times for Black women, we are setting ourselves up for failure and breaking our own hearts because we're going to be in Thailand only dating brothers. And it's just very unrealistic.
Joy. Come on.
Girl, Sonia, you said it all, honey.
Yes.
You said it all. For me, I don't really have a type. I just like what Sonia said, I see someone, I'm like, wow, they're really attractive. And I find so many different kinds of people attractive. So it goes back to like the personality. Who is this person? And energy is very important to me. What is their energy when I am around them, right? So someone could be drop dead gorgeous, honey, and then they open their mouth and you're like, you should have shut it. You should have not done that. So it's just kind of like that openness and that fluidity of if I see someone that I like you, I find you attractive. That's it for me. I'm not the kind of person that is so, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but kind of has these cookie cutter. This is what I want it to look like. This is how it has to look like. For me, that's not important.
Okay, so and I'm going to ask you a tough question, Joy, given your background. Coming to America, that's a whole movie twice.
They did it 2 times.
From Africa. Did you feel like, oh man, how was that for you? And I know you were younger, right?
Yeah.
But as you're growing up, was there this pretense of coming to America and finding an American man? Because you ain't come to America looking for Kenyan men, although it's a bunch of Kenyans in America. Like y'all in this country, in America, deep, you know. So what was that expectation like for you now that you're kind of like, and did that kind of help set this idea to be more open for you?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think for me, I've always known that I don't like to be tied to labels and things. I just don't like it. So even when I was living in Kenya, and Kenya has a lot of different tribes too, right? So there's I mean, people do like identity and labels because they just make us feel comfortable, but for me it was not that important. So when I moved to the States, I actually left a boyfriend home. I was 17, y'all, and I was so in love, honey. And so when I moved to the States at the time, I guess I never thought, oh, I'm here to find an American man. I knew for sure, and a lot of people are not going to like this, because of my background and because of what I've seen with a lot of African men. I knew for sure that I did not want an African man. I had to do a lot of healing for myself, and to come to the point where I'm like, okay, it's okay. So, unfortunately, at the time, I knew I really don't want to be with an African man. I really do not want to be barefoot in the kitchen. I do not want to be given a bunch of babies. I do not want to be submissive. They're just those things that I knew I did not want. So I think, Ali, now that I think of it, maybe it did open me up to having that kind of sort of freedom where I can choose, right? I don't have to do what I do not want to do because of a culture, because of where I come from, because of any of these things. So now that I think of it, maybe that did open things up a lot more for me because it was that freedom of choice. I will say that, you know, all that shit does come from trauma and pain and hurt and all these things. But once you start working through them, and once you start healing those parts of yourself, you start to see people as people. It doesn't matter if they're Black, if they're white, if they're Mexican, if they're any of these things. Like, men are men. That's it. So, yeah.
Yes, let's get to that part. Now for the good part. Okay, y'all. Let's try to dismantle. So there's so much that you both have stated, and I guess I'll give my take on dating outside or dating away from home. I too started this journey without it being a journey 2 years ago. It was a 2 week vacation because they had shut everything down, and I needed to get out of the States because I feel like I realized that I actually was traveling almost every quarter, 2 or 3 weeks. And that 6 months hit me come July of 2020. And so I sought out just to get away. And my 2 weeks turned into 4 months in Mexico. So that's when I realized I could do this. So it wasn't really until I want to say 2021 as I continue. Yeah, I went back to the States to switch up some things and, you know, try to do some adulting for 10 days. Nobody knew I was there except my brothers. And then I flew back out, and that's when I landed in Africa. And over the course of that year of 2021 being in different parts of Africa, I realized, because you're confronted with it, I'm on the beach every day. So yes, I got the beach boys, but I'm gonna tell you, you set the standard really quick. And you know, they learn to, it's that whole thing. that we are taught in the West, teach people how to treat you. It is important to learn that when you are traveling, because you can become a target, not for some malicious reason necessarily, but simply because you're from somewhere else. And so there's a lot of things that I had to learn about the fact that I could solo travel and how that appeared to other people. Right. So that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But what I realized in 2021 is, but I like men and I want to date. Like, as I realized that I can do this, like, this is like easy, just being away from this. Like, I had no desire in going back home. I eventually knew at some point I would have to, but I realized that I could live like a regular person pretty much anywhere in the world. So if that's the case, I'm really young. How do I now, incorporate companionship into this? Something that I've always wanted. I've never been married, but something and I have an adult child and I have grandchildren and all of that. And so I'm definitely single, and I am not trying to go become a nun. I am not interested in nunhood, whatever they call it. I'm not interested. No, boo. So it hit me last year, like, oh my God, you got to start thinking about this. And that's when it started to click that every place you go is not, it may be a beautiful place. There may be beautiful beaches. There may be all these wonderful things, but it may not be the appetite that you're looking for in terms of a dating culture, right? And it didn't occur to me until the end of last year when I was leaving Kenya and still did not want to come back to the US. And I was like, I'm gonna figure it out, y'all. I did 10 days of quarantine to not come back to the US. Okay. That's how determined I was to not come back to the US. And that's how I ended up in Thailand. That was the best non-planned decision outside of all the other non-planned decisions that I made to go to Thailand, because that opened up my eyes. And it was like December of last year when I hit that point of, how do I feel about dating? I haven't done any dating sites in my time abroad, but I've met many of people who have, and their experiences. I mean, we have great conversations about these experiences, and they're very much like what you have in the West and that kind of thing. It's not really too much different, but I just haven't gotten any on any dating sites. And I've had some experience dating people while I'm abroad, or the opportunity to date people where, people come up and want to inquire about your time and your space and whether or not you'll be, honestly, second, third, or fourth wife. And I'm going to tell y'all something. There was one fine brother, I ain't going to lie, in Malindi. Or no, was it in Watamu? No, was it Malindi? Was it Malindi? No, it was in Watamu. Child, I was almost going to volunteer to be number two, for real. Because I was just like, so yes, it happens to us, gents. It does happen to us ladies. And so that's why I want to say this before we go too much. This conversation isn't just about ladies and our experience dating and stuff. If the guys tune in, you'll kind of understand our perspective and how we go into traveling abroad, and some of the things that we're looking for as well, because a lot of times, you'll hear guys, a lot of times we don't see guys unless they're in a group or unless they're with a companion, somebody that they're with. You very rarely see guys, so Black men solo traveling. So that goes into this cultural thing. And what Sonia was just hit the whole fan with is, more times than not, when we're out looking for that king, a lot of times, if you're looking for an American man, or if you're from Europe and you're looking for a European man, a lot of times they're not going abroad to look for the woman that they left in the country that they left, right? Whereas Black women, we literally go to other places looking for this stereotypical Black male, right? And what I learned at the end of 2021 was that, and it didn't hit me until January, February of 2022, what I manifested, what I wanted, and it came to fruition, and it didn't look like the first 48, 49 years of my life. Well, I turned 50 last year, so I'm technically the first 50 years of my life. It didn't look anything like that. It wasn't that at all. And it was the greatest experience that I had and that I needed in order to understand that it doesn't have to fit in a box, right? So let's talk a little bit about when we start expanding ourselves a little bit, what types of nuances are we hit with? And that word fetish comes up that Joy mentioned. And we can go all around and about this because I think this is like a meat of the conversation. And this is one of the things that I think deters, Black women from dating. The I'm not sure which of you ladies made the comment about, this expectation that, we're supposed to date a certain way or date certain people. There's this stigma on Black women that we have to do certain things that no one else is abiding by. And I want to talk about this definition of fetishism, fetishizality, fetishishness. I don't know, I want to talk about that and drill down into when is it a fetish? When is it not a fetish? And is it only a fetish when it's by someone of a different culture or a different race? So I'm gonna yield the floor. Wait, why did the usher hands go up? All right, so the usher board. Yes, ma'am. Jump on in.
Oh man. So you mentioned like I can't remember your exact words, but you talked about like there is this pull for people to want to control what Black women do, and we are seeing more Black women who are saying, okay, I was always told to do it this way. Maybe people lied to me. Let me do it another way. And the way they pull us back in is scaring us, those, men are going to fetishize you, or you going to end up in an alley somewhere. He going to, kill you or whatever. But like we said, men are men. So, have you never saw a Black woman get killed by someone that looks like her in a relationship? Have you never, dated and talk to a Black man and you ask what does he like about Black women? He'll start talking about booties and stuff. It's like, well, you do realize that not every Black woman has a big booty or whatever, or curves or whatever. And a lot, I mean, I would say, most of the, Black guys that I've dated, it was something that appears to be fetishization. Man, that's a hard word. I don't know why that word is beating my ass right now, but, yeah, I mean, so for me, once I started to realize, wow, there's a lot of people who are trying to scare me and saying that these guys don't really want you or really like you. Like there's any guy who's not Black, he is only wanting you as some token or whatever. It's a fetish. But then I thought back to every guy that I've dated. And when you ask them what they like about Black women, it's curves and this and that and this. And especially on dating sites, it's like, I'm just like, okay, if you're a Black man and you know that there's all different types of Black women, like, do you realize that not all Black women look a certain way? And I think, that's a big reason why, Black women now, it's just kind of like, oh, if I don't have the curves and the butt that look a certain way, I have to go get this, or because there's something defective or wrong with me. So that being said, I feel like men are men, and any man can fetishize you, no matter what race he is. So that being said, go out and find someone who loves you as a human being, respects you, you feel safe with, and that's what it is. Because anybody talking about the fetishing and all this stuff, it's like they're saying that to scare you.
Listen, I almost passed and took the heart, Joy. 'Cause, I was just like, I'm gonna take this heart right quick. Yeah, I want to definitely get back to the fetish thing, and then I want to make sure we talk about how do we start to accept being loved by something that does not represent what we've been told should be representative of what, the love that we're looking for, because I think that's a big part. That's a roadblock, or we think it's a roadblock, is I don't know what to do in the presence of someone that doesn't look like something else. It's like we have this boundary that we've put up for ourselves, thinking that people are different. And Sonia, you keep saying it, men are men, like women are women. We have different personalities, but the concept of it is a person is a person. People behave a certain way. There's if we believe in gender roles, and I'm not talking about taking out the garbage. I'm talking about the way that we are genetically made, the way that we just function. There are specific roles that we naturally play. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about before the compromising happens. There's things that we just naturally do and I think that's what you mean. So like when we say, men are men, women are women, that's what we're talking about. We're not saying that everyone is a monolith. We're saying we are different, but there's components of it that are the same. And in essence, you can make anything work. So I want to go at some point in this, talk about how do we get it to work when we are so steadfast in what it's supposed to look like. So, okay, Joy, what's your chime in?
Honey, my chime in. Sonia, I really like the point that you brought up with people making you think that you will be fetishized. I haven't personally experienced that. What I have experienced is actually being fetishized a lot, a lot. And it sucks. It sucks when, someone slides into your DM or sends you that Tinder message and says, "You're my fetish." I was like, so that's the epitome of what we're doing now. So that's what we're doing. And realizing for a lot of people, for a lot of men, especially in different countries, that are not exposed to a lot of Black women, it's like, oh my gosh, you're actually Black. You actually exist out here. Yes, I know we're goddesses and queens and we're amazing. I get it, right? And so there's this mix of awe, of wow, I've never seen someone like you, or there's all of that. And then there's also because when I think of fetish, that word, when I think of F word, fetishization, I think of it's very objectifying. It's all about me. What can I get from you? What can you do for me? And so I've seen it both at home in the States, and I've also seen it outside in different countries. And it does make you feel like an object because people now do not see you. They have reduced you to an idea that they have in their head. And Ali, and I think it was Ali, and even you, Sonia, you were talking about this, how it's supposed to be. Because when someone is fetishizing you, Jesus, that word, they've already put you in this box. They've put you in this category. And so now you're playing a role. You're no longer a woman, a traveler, someone with soul, someone that's intelligent, someone that loves all these things. You become an object of desire. So that for me has been one of the difficult things. I mean, now I know how to deal with it and I can almost always spot it from a mile away. But when you're not used to it, it really does make you feel like, wow, so you just want me for my body. That's it. You just want me for the desires, to fulfill your desires. So It has been an issue for me traveling and also at home in the States. But I'll say that there's a difference between being fetishized and people actually having genuine interest in saying, wow, I've never seen someone like you.
How do you differentiate? I got to ask because,
Yeah, I like
I
it.
mean, the experience, I mean, so, and then I also want to ask, when you felt fetishized,
Mhm.
was it from non-Black, because you were a teenager and adult in the US? Was it from non-Black people, or was it also from Black people, that Black men, that you felt that you were being fetishized because of your lineage, because you're African? Or did they know?
Because that's a good question. So I realized it more with non-black non-black cultural, like different cultures. But then as Sonia was talking too, I realized that even black people I have been fetishized by black men, talking about your body, oh my gosh, those blank, this, that. And so I feel like all men do fetishize women, but more so in other different countries because of just being a black woman in a place that does not have predominantly black men, especially Greece. That was one of the hardest places. Girl, I was getting catcalled and what's the word? I forget what the word is, by a 70-year-old man out in the street, just like, walking, minding my business. And this man is like, oh, I've never seen anyone like you. How is it being with your kind? And I was like, this is happening. This is happening. This is really happening. So I've definitely seen it a lot more with non-black men, but also with black men. That is a thing that does happen. Oh, and then your second question was, how can you tell? I think for me, I can quickly discern genuine interest and that slimy, just like that slimy, ooh, like, yeah, no, no. It's a no, thank you. And then if I don't know if it's in that period of, oh, I'm not too sure, like they might be genuinely interested or they might just want one thing, it's usually sex. I kind of just give it time and then I talk and communicate with them, and I usually, try to read the room, try to read where is this conversation going, and through, within 3 days, you will know for sure where it's going.
Okay, so that is all right. Tactic 14 in this is utilizing time. You okay, so, and this is, as I drill down, I think what hopefully will transpire here is that there really isn't a difference in dating. There's a difference, but there's not necessarily a difference depending on how you choose to approach it, right? And so this thing about time, and I don't know if you ladies have experienced this, where you're dating, let's just say in the States, because in the States, we put our guard down a lot in the States. And I'm not quite sure why, because it's literally the same kind of garbage or non-garbage, but a lot of garbage in the States, as you will find as you explore around the world. And one of the things that I think I've heard so much in the probably the last 10 years, because time goes by so fast. So I'll say last 10 to 12 years is, let's see where this goes.
Yes.
So my Jeopardy music is playing. Da, na, 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 na. And I'm going to tell you something. I would probably say 80% of women fell into that trap, including me. Oh, well, well, you're right. Let's see where this goes. I'm going to tell you where let's see where this goes takes you. The let's see where this goes takes you from making a decision. That 3-day plan that you just talked about, Joy, doesn't exist if we see where it goes. Because if we see where it goes, I'm going to say this, and I know some guys on here that might not agree. Please chime in. I would love for y'all to. And let me just put this out here, you guys. This conversation was opened up for men to join as well. Now, one guy wanted to share his opinion on bringing sand to the beach. And I'm just going to speculate as to why that is, but I won't do it today. But this whole the whole concept. What was I talking about, y'all? I was about to talk about bringing sand.
Oh man. Oh.
Y'all know how I do. If you guys follow me, you know I jump from one thing to the next, right? So I kind of want to go back to the it was the timing. So this whole idea of let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
When you wait to see what happens, one of the things that we know that happens is for women, time becomes bond. And I'll add to it bondage, because once we're in it, we're dedicated. So what normally happens the first 3 months, the man comes on hard. He wants you. He wants to spend time. He's there all the time. I have learned so much that when somebody, and even in myself, I know how to look at situations and know in the beginning it's always perfect. And if it's not and we stay, we're just dumb. But when it seems perfect in the first 3 months, the honeymoon stage process hasn't gone away. Whether you're being fetish, non-fetish, whether it's from your king demographic or a new king demographic or queen, whatever it is, it's all the same process. Everybody puts on their best behavior in the beginning. And part of it isn't always necessarily a game. A lot of times, whatever's new, like it's just like when you get that piece of cake that you just so badly wanted and you bite and you like, oh, the first 3 bites is the bomb.com. Let me explain to you why when I get cake, everybody got to eat it, because I really don't want the whole thing. I'm going to tell you I don't want the whole thing. I just want the first 3 bites. That's what the first 3 months is. Sometimes just the first month or whatever. And what happens with women, I've seen this in my relationships, is in the beginning, I'm standoffish. I'm just looking at you like, yeah, okay. Oh, you're a little too frisky and you want me to meet your mama a little too soon. Like I'm kind of quick to be like, yeah, it's too much. It's too much. But what happens is time softens me and makes me go, oh. So by the time I'm like, oh, he like, no. I'm oh, he no. Where he was yes and I was not yet in the beginning, you know what I'm saying? And so for women, the one thing that men have learned, whether they're trying to do this or not, is if I can hold on to her long enough, she won't leave over time, because now she's bondaged to me because of time. And so I think one of the biggest things that we have to think about is get in and get out quickly. In and out quickly. And one of the things that I talk, whether you feel like it's fetish, and we'll get back to how this ties into like the sand, this bringing the sand or picking up sand and getting new sand, finding out it ain't sand, it's rocks, whatever. Concept is the idea that just like men are men anywhere, sand and dating is the same anywhere. It's literally the same concept. And I think one of the things that we lose is making our own decisions. Like we're still caught in this. We're traveling the world. We're experiencing things. I'm just talking about, like, let's say the 3 of us. And we're still caught in this choice thing. Are you really being allowed to make the choices that are best for you? Or are we still kind of riding on this wave of what is expected, what should be expected, and what it should look like, right? And I feel like as soon as you started talking about that, after 3 days, you'll know, that is the trigger. If after 3 days you're sitting and you're questioning it, one of the things I'll say often is, even if later on down the road you say, man, I should have tried something different, it doesn't matter. In the moment that you are right now, in the moment when you're making that decision, when you're feeling what you're feeling, it is a legitimate feeling. We tend to hold on because we don't trust what we feel. We don't trust that it's okay to not feel comfortable. We don't trust that it's okay to say, but he don't have it together and I really don't want to deal with that. It's okay. it's not okay for people to chastise you and say, well, you got 15 men in your inbox, how much you ain't got no man? Because ain't none of them what I want. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to feel that. Even if you may not be in a place to receive it, that still means that you're not in a place to receive it, which still could be a detriment on the relationship. So I think that's a lot of times how we mix these things up. And I only want to just mention that because as soon as you said the time thing, I'm just like, God, that's the one thing that kills us. I feel like it can bring us up or bring us down, and most times it brings us down. Which is why when we start talking about dating outside of home, we tend to think, well, the only way I'll survive in places is if I have a significant other. So I kind of want to talk about places. And Joy, you already started bringing up where you would and would not bring sand to the beach, or where have you found more success? And success doesn't mean that you got married to a person. Success could be that in the time frame that you wanted to spend or share with a person, it was glorious, it was amazing, it was everything that you wanted it to be. It was what it was, season, reason, or lifetime. So and that's the other thing, is determining what is what's right for us, for you, when you're in this dating scenario. So let's talk about places where you would, considering we're all single, so we're assuming that we're going to find some sand at the beach. Where are some of the places, ladies, that you think are maybe advantageous places for sand surfing? And what type of guy? Let's talk preference.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, who or what type of guy, because sometimes I feel like when I see this picture of what exactly the guy is going to be, sometimes that gets us messed up, because then if that person comes along, it's like, wait a minute, that can't be him. It's like, is that him, God? That's not him. For me, I feel like I don't know exactly where I will find someone, but I'm going to give two different comparisons, like Playa del Carmen as opposed to Mexico City. In Playa, it's going to be a lot of the people who live there are in poorer situations. So I feel like where I would find someone would be somewhere to where, like here in the US, you're going to find people who work in financial services or whatever, and business owners and things of that nature. In Mexico City, there's going to also be financial institutions and things to where you're going to see people, having jobs and, doing things like they do, here, in the US. So it might be more likely in a bigger metropolitan city there that you can meet someone there rather than bringing your sand to the beach. I don't know if that answered the question or not, but I think it would be really hard to go to a country, especially if the person you meet is a local and they've never traveled around a lot or whatever, to where they're depending a lot on you to kind of be a financial savior, and to kind of take the entire lead, with teaching them a lot about the rest of the world and traveling and things of that nature. So I don't know if that answered the question, but if I'm in an area to where the guys would be looking for me to kind of be their financial savior, then it would either have to be an expat that I'm dating, or I would have to meet someone online and we're gonna have to travel together and be a couple traveling all around. So
I would say for me, probably metropolitan cities and cities that are more diverse, cities that see a lot more people that come in and out. Because personally, I do want to be with an open minded person, right? I do want to be with someone that doesn't just look at you as an object or financial support or any of those things, right? Someone that sees you for you. And I'm not saying you can't find this in like a small town in Australia. A girl is all for it, right? But I think it's just the kind of people that are there. And even in the smaller towns, in the smaller places, I think there are people that are very open minded. One of the places that I did have some trouble with in this area, Greece. So I went to Hania, this small place, small town in Crete, the Crete Islands, the Cretan Islands, and very traditional place. Definitely not a lot of Black people unless it's a naval base, because there is a naval base there. And so obviously, yes, I was like one of maybe, I don't know, three Black people there. And that's different, right? When people are not used to that, they don't know how to take it. But so even though I had some problems in the fetishization area, I also met really good people that were open minded, that were locals, that do see you as just another human being. So I think it can happen anywhere, but be mindful that in like the remote places, it might not be all roses. In metropolitan areas, like let's say England. When I went to London, I was in London for about 4 days, and honey, I was like, a bitch can stay here forever. This is nice, right? Because there was just a lot, there was a lot more people to. I just kind of felt this vibe that it was okay. It was comfortable. Like if I met someone there, because they are used to cross-cultural experiences, it's a melting pot. I knew that I probably would have some problems, but it wouldn't be all of it, right? It wouldn't be like finding that one person that's okay with you, being Black or whatever. So.
Oh, okay. So I want to touch on. I have a question that Eulalie, and I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but that's what it looks like it is. Eulalie. Yeah, that's right. Jace asked. That's falling in line with what we're talking about. But I also want to come back to, and y'all gonna have to like remind me because I got short term. I did write a note, but I skipped through my notes too. Is the idea of when we talk foreign, so there's layers of foreign. I put men in categories. There's American, Caribbean, European. American, Caribbean. Like honestly, and now I think I'm going to add in Latin because that's a whole. Since I've been, and I don't know. Both of you guys have been to Mexico City, and one of the things. So this where I'm gonna go with this. One of the things that I've noticed. And this kind of goes to this where are good places is when you have an idea of what you're looking for. So for example, a lot of times we as women, we want PDA, but we'll date somebody who won't even open your door. Okay, like why would you do that? Like you're miserable, even though it's something so simple, you're miserable. When I was in Mexico, y'all, I have video upon video upon video of me just stalk viewing people holding hands, kissing, all of that in that one big park, Chapultepec, that one, the big one with the castle. I can never say it, but the one that's bigger than New York Central Park, that park. And when I got there, I was just like, oh my God, like I love the fact that they love on each other. And so I'm in Ecuador. Y'all, ain't no such thing as take it home, take it to the hotel. You could be in the mall, you trying to get in the door. They done stopped in the middle of the door. And I'm just like, well, can I get in? I'm just saying, like what? Not in the store. Can I hug too? Whatever. I feel like Latin people have this love thing. I don't know if it's the language. I don't know if it's just, but you see it even with the younger kids. I witnessed it when I was on my bus tour, over the last week and a half. And I'm just like, hey, even the kids. And maybe it's the mindset or the culture, because ideally it's the women preparing to be wives. I don't know. I don't know if that's what it is, but I will tell you, one of the other things that I've experienced, and I'm 50, so I'm not a kid. One of the things that I've experienced is everyone that is, most guys that I've met outside of the US are very PDA-ish, very touchy-feely, very romantic, very, I mean, even from meeting, I'm gonna say this and y'all gonna be like, what? Russian men. I'm gonna go ahead and name some places. I'm gonna tell you, ladies, if you want to experience a type of love, and not to say that you won't get it in American men, but I see us complaining all the time, and it's just not something that you always see. Like, we see it in billboards and IG posts and stuff like that, but we see it because they married, so that's not available. I'm talking about just in the everyday guy that you're gonna meet that walks up and wants to hold your hand. The one he kisses you on the forehead. He's just the way that he touches you, and I'm not talking about in a creepy way. I'm talking about just a natural presence, or the what's the word I'm looking for? The acknowledgement that you are physically there. The thing that we all want. We want the hand on the lower part of our back. There's a difference in your hand up here on my neck and the hand in your hand on my back on the lower part. There's a difference, and we know it. And one of the things I just want to call out is we have to stop seeking and accepting things that don't make us happy, that don't feel good, right? Just like anybody else, y'all, men have been going to different countries to get women that fit their flavor forever. We can't feel funny because, oh, you're gonna go to another country to find a man. Why not? It's not that you're going to another place to find a man, but we have to start saying, if we're going to live this life, we don't have to. One of the things I discovered is if I'm going to live this life, I have to start to pay attention to what it is that I want in a companion, because I'm saying I want this. But when it presents itself, like you said, Sonia, it like hits you. You're like, wait, did I ask for that? When it comes to fruition and it hits you in your face and it does not look anything like what you envision, but it feels like everything you wanted, even if it's just for a season, you owe it to yourself to receive it. And that's kind of what I've experienced in just the last year, is sometimes what we want doesn't look like, oftentimes it don't look like, and this could even be job promotion. It could be, the next stage in your life. You're like, I didn't think I was going to be here, but here I am. Right. But also in relationships. And so when I think about places that really meet the criteria that I'm looking for. Yeah, I apologize. My GoPro light keeps sinking. And so every now and again you'll see this, okay, all right, just let me know when you'll see it come down. But places that I feel like now that and I'm gonna use this word that, I think we overuse, awakened to myself, to my emotions, to my feelings, because I've accepted that it's okay to have them, to tap into them, to feel them, is places, I want to go places where PDA, and I'm not talking about, like we raunchy, I'm just talking about the natural feeling comfortable enough to love on each other publicly. That's something I like. Everybody doesn't like that. So I'm learning, because the world is an open map, to start going places where that is acceptable. So what that does also mean is, in some places, and one of the biggest continents in the world being Africa, where PDA is not necessarily accepted in a number of different countries, depending on their religion. And that is outside of that as well. That's also in Europe in different places, and in Asia in different places and stuff like that. And so you have to be aware of it. And it occurred to me when I was in Tanzania, how critical just how different people are. Like when you were talking about Joy, you said you didn't want an African man. Realizing what that actually means. It's not necessarily, I don't like this person. It's, they're not going to be able to give me what I'm looking for. And at some point as women, we deserve to receive what we're looking for. Maybe we're past childbearing. Maybe we don't want to bear children. Maybe we do want to bear children, but when we're doing it, we want somebody that is also compassionate about the fact we just squeezed a whole human being out of our body. Yeah. Or we've carried something for not, I mean, like sometimes you want a person who is in touch enough to feel what you feel, because what we hear all the time is well, I made a mistake, I made a mistake, I made a mistake. You want someone who's in touch with you enough to understand that if I feel what you feel, it's no longer a mistake, right? And so for me, I will say the place that I experienced like the real awakening or eye-opening experience was in Thailand, and that would not have happened had I not have gone. And the way that and it didn't look anything like what I was expecting it to look like. And all I received was, but this is what you deserve. Even if it's for a season, or even if it was just for a reason so that I could understand what it is I say on paper I want, what it actually feels like, and then how to receive it. So for the last, let's say 25 minutes, let's talk about how to receive the very thing that we're not programmed to even understand and entertain. But before we get to that, I actually wanted to read Eulalie's question. She said, do you think being a traveler makes it even more difficult to have a long-term relationship? And most guys may take it as being a temporary relation. So like when you do meet someone and you're traveling, do you experience that? Either of you ladies want to chime in on that question?
I feel like if what's your dating situation like when you're in the US? I feel like if you were having a hard time in the US, then don't necessarily expect it to be easier because you go somewhere else. I feel like dating is just hard in general. Yeah, Ali, I'm looking at your face because I know exactly why your face is looking like that. But anywho, so that being said, one thing I did when I decided that I was going to do some traveling was not putting having a relationship in the reason why I travel, and just go out there and live life. And if it's meant to be, it's going to happen, because it's like no matter where you go, you just can't control that. You can't control whether you meet another human being that you're compatible with and they're going to want to share their life with you. I feel like stars just kind of have to align, and it happens. So I feel like you can definitely pick some places that you like and you feel like, oh, okay, I've met some nice guys here or whatever. But I know I'm just going all around the question, but I don't feel like it's any easier in the US as opposed to not being in the US. It's hard in the US. It's going to be hard outside of the US. I don't know if that was the answer.
No, I agree. I agree with that. Joy, did you want to chime in at all on that one?
Yes, I do, because I think that dating as a traveler is different if you're in a place because people will ask you, how long are you here for? So there is this like give and receive. Guys do want to know, oh, how long are you here for? Is it just something's going to be quick, or are you here long term? So I think sometimes it's not just all about what we're expecting, but also what is coming back from what you're putting out there, right? And another point is you have to, you don't have to, right? Everything is a recommendation. You can do you, honey. But for me, I have to be open to it being temporary, or it being something that is just there and then gone. You just have to be okay with the nature of how things unfold, because we might have it in our heads, oh, this is how we want it to go. And then it doesn't go that way. And then you just feel like, oh, okay, well, it didn't work out. Well, we just had some expectations and they weren't met. Whoop-de-doo. It's just something that does happen. So you have to be okay with however this is going to turn out, or rather asking yourself, am I going to be okay with however this turns out? Yeah.
That right there. Okay. The acceptance of the reality of what it is. So you're talking about like now what to look for kind of tips things. So let me go back and make sure I've finished mentioning the places that I think are successful. I already said Mexico, Latin countries, and Thailand was successful. And I'm gonna chime in as to why I say that, because we're talking about bringing sand, and we were talking about cultural things. I didn't really mention this. This is when you have to be open, because in Thailand, yes, we was deep in Thailand. We had our like crew. We was like boom, like what, deep. But all around us, it was not. So you have to, in some instances, if you're going to go to some of these places, like Joy, you mentioned Switzerland. And I know, Sonia, you and I have talked about all the different places that you want to pop your head in, peek in and see, and all of that. And at some point, we have to consider that it's going to look a little bit different than we envisioned. And I'm going to tell you there's positives to that, because one of the things that I've learned is when you go places where you are not an anomaly, meaning in terms of what you bring to the table. And I'm not even going to talk about this table. I'm just going to use it because it's a reference point that people use a lot. What you bring, what you carry with you can be matched. It opens up the door. One of the things that I look for, we were talking about earlier, preferences in dating. And I literally don't have a personal preference in terms of color anymore. And I didn't realize that I was still holding on to that, because I thought I was open. I'm open. I didn't realize until this year how unopen I actually was, until I almost missed an opportunity of openness. It is. And one of the things that I realized is what we want out of a relationship. For me, what I want out of a relationship is what I also want out of a friendship or any type of companionship, any type of relationship, is something that propels me to the next level, something that opens a door, something that allows conversations to happen, allows a newness, a new right turn to occur. A lot of times we don't experience things because, and I'm going to say this word, and it's to bring attention to it, is because we function in squalor, right? We function and exist and stay in where the places that we don't want to be, rather than excelling ourselves to the level of excellence that we can be or that we already are. And sometimes that means that you have to step outside of what other people say you deserve, because sometimes what other people say you deserve limits you, right? When people think you should be with this person, or you should do with this, or you should, and you're just like, yeah, but they really aren't. Like, I'm a traveler. One of the reasons why I struggle with dating American men is because they always want to go back to America. One of the reasons I struggle with dating people who have never traveled is that they all want to go to America, or they want help getting a passport. And that's not a negative thing. That's the life that they're living, but that's not what I want right now. Like, I've already done my helpmate. Like, I'm looking to be on the receiving end, and that's just where I am in my life. And what I'm understanding is it's okay. It's okay to want that. It's okay to be there. It is not my role or any of our roles to sit and wait to always be kind of like the giver. I'm going to release and give you everything so that, you can be successful, or we can have this union together. People ask often, how do you find people to meet, to have, make friends with? Doing the things that you love earnestly, even if it's just walking every day, you will eventually run into people that have similar desires, passions, so on and so forth. And that happens when you're slow traveling. When you're fast traveling, I mean, I think if you're only going to be somewhere for 4 days, what are you really looking for? Okay, it's kind of obvious. Like, unless you're trying to get a mail order bride, I get it, right? But if you're just literally popping in somewhere for a few days and you just trying to, what they call it, squash it or whatever, then it is what it is, right? But when you're long traveling and there's that potential for something to happen over the course that you're there, you can spend time doing what you love and meet people organically in that space. Or if you're doing the dating apps, specifically say, these are things that, I enjoy doing. So a person knows right up front. And like you said, Joy, in 3 days, you find out, okay, he don't even like to walk. He want to ride in a cart. And have me push him. So, it's not going to work. Right. And so I think traveling is a big part of this. Is one of my first questions is do you have a passport? And no offense if you don't, but we're not compatible. And so as ladies travel, or even as men, Sonia, I think you said it earlier on, men don't make a qualm about what they want. But somehow when it comes to us saying what we want, we have to go, oh, well, what is my mom going to say? Or what is my auntie and them going to say? What are my brothers going to say? What are my friends? We can't worry about whether or not our preferences begin to offend other people. Okay. And I keep trying to block somebody, and somehow they keep getting into this,
while you're trying to block, I guess, I think for women, a lot of times, we are scared to listen to our instincts because it's like, well, what if that was a good man and you're missing out on your husband or something? And for me at this point, I've been married before. I don't have to be married again, but I know a lot of times I remember someone telling me, like, you cut people off, so, quickly, like, just see where it goes, get to know this person. And a lot of times, not only our instincts, but a conversation that you have with this person lets you know that there's some deal breakers there. So it's like, why are we sitting here wasting our time? And I think a lot of times as women, we are looking for confirmation and closure. And I need to do a whole video about what is the cost of closure, though. Because a lot of times when you're making these excuses of, well, I'm going to go back and talk to him again, like I was going to break up with him. We hadn't talked to each other. I said I need space, but I'm going to go back and talk just to see. And when you go back and talk just to see, he pulls you back in when you knew that that's not who you're supposed to be dealing with anyway. So we waste a lot of our time because we keep lying to ourselves and saying, like, I didn't get confirmation that he wasn't the right man. It's like, what do you need as confirmation? Or the whole, I needed closure. It's like, once I hear that a lot of times, like, okay, we done lost you. You going back, and you know that you don't need to be in a situation. Once you say you need that, no, you do not need that. The only thing you need is your instincts that tells you that this is not the right situation for you not to be wasting your time. And maybe I had 10 years of time to waste, back when I was 18 or whatever. I mean, still didn't have that time then. But at my age now, I'm like, I don't have time to just be wasting because I don't know, it don't feel right. I'm waiting for confirmation and this and that and this. No, it's like, listen to your instincts. I think at the older we get, we know faster. That's why when people are saying like, you are cutting people off quick. No, I'm cutting people off when I understand that this situation is not right.
I really love that. Can I chime in? I'm gonna chime in. I really, really like that because I think for a lot of women, we are conditioned to not trust ourselves. Mm-hmm. We're conditioned to believe you don't know what you want. let me show you all these fucking products that you want, including a man. And
Mhm.
it's like, no, because your intuition knows, your body already knows, right? So I love how you're talking about instinct and intuition, because your body is going to tell you quickly, quickly. And the more you allow it to tell you, the more you become a very effective decision maker. Like for me, I'm just like you, Sonia. I've always been like that. Quickly. One, two, three, bam. Because I think for a lot of women, we're afraid to say what we want and how we want it. We're taught you can't do it. Oh, you should just be on the receiving end, right? You should just take what you're given. And it's like, why would I do that? I don't see guys out here saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna take what I'm given. That's okay." But for women, we do that a lot in jobs, in relationships, in family, in food. Oh no, it's okay. No, it's not okay. If you want something, don't settle for what you don't want because you've been led to believe you should just take it and shut up. That's, I mean, you're doing a disservice to yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to be with the regret. You're the one that's going to be like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have done that, right? And I know that this is not easy for a lot of people to do, but as you start asking yourself the question, what do I really want? And am I okay to forego all this other bullshit to get what I really fucking want? And for me, I knew from Jump Street that was a yes. Like I told myself, I said, there is no way I'm living this lifetime and having people tell me what I should want. Why? It doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't do me or them a favor. And so I think, a lot of women really do a disservice to themselves because we don't really truly trust and believe I am worth it. I am deserving. What I want is worth it and is worth the wait, is worth the trouble, the loneliness, whatever it is. It is worth it, because at the end of the day, you're just going to go through a string of just bullshit relationships, situationships, encounters, and it's unnecessary, and you leave with so much damage, right? And so I think it's a high time that us women say, I know what I want, and I'm not going to settle until I get it. And the cool thing is that it can change, right? It doesn't mean that you just have to put yourself in this box. In different seasons of life, in different chapters of life, it changes. And you're like, oh, I thought that's what I wanted, but maybe that's not what I want. I'm changing and I desire something different. And allowing that to be okay, because we're all evolving, we're humans, we're here, we're growing, we're evolving, and allowing ourselves to evolve and find ourselves in different ways with relationships and all the other life things. That's just my take. But I really do think it's very important for us women to, one, be okay with what we desire and not feel guilty about it, and two, learn how to receive it. Because sometimes, even if it hits you in the face, if you don't feel deserving enough and if you don't feel worthy enough, you're not going to receive it at all. So
Yes, and that last statement of you're not going to receive it at all is the hindrance. That is the boundary, what kind of we run into, and then we think that we can't have success. We fall into traps, and it's because we also don't do the work to not settle. Some of the key points you guys have been
mhm.
talking about, to trust your instinct. How do you trust your instinct when you don't know how to trust your instinct, when you've been told all along what your instinct is supposed to be, when you've been told all along, well, your instinct is wrong, your instinct doesn't fall in line with, I don't know, religious precepts that we have here. You have to follow this guideline. Well, I don't like him, but you got to be with him, or this is what you're supposed to do, or this like I said, relationships are more than intimate relationships. They're also platonic and work relationships, business relationships, and things like that, we carry these same behaviors across our lives. So a lot of times what we're lacking in doing in, a personal relationship, we're also lacking in a business relationship, right? When it comes to making decisions and knowing how you feel, beginning to learn yourself. You ladies were talking about, you don't know, you don't know what you want or what you don't want when you don't know yourself. And sometimes it means taking time. And I think, Joy, the last part when you were saying we can change, one of the other things that you mentioned when you said we can change is this idea that we are supposed to be the same person we were at 20 and 21. Why in the world would I want someone who is the same person they were at 20 and 21? I'm 50 years old now. If we know for a fact, naturally, we begin to like things every 3 to 5 years. We gravitate to different things. There could have been a time where we never wanted to go to an opera. And at some point in our life, we're like, man, it's majestic the way it feels. And it's because there's a different sensory perception that now allows us to receive it. The receiving that you're talking about. And I'll just talk personally about this really quick. Is I spent a lot of this 24 months was actually going through a process of realizing that there were trauma situations and bonds and things that I was carrying that weren't allowing me to make good decisions. And what I mean by make good decisions was make decisions based on what I wanted. And it's because I didn't know. Like I was riding this wave of just, consistency. This is how it naturally is. But then I was just like, but it's an unhappy place. Like I was cool, but I wasn't fulfilled. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. I wasn't fulfilled in that. Like I can manage in a lot of different spaces, but I wasn't fulfilled. And then until I took the time to myself to begin to learn myself and learn the things that I kind of was just doing just out of habit, just carrying the torch, until I realized those things and said, but I don't want that. That's not what I envision, or also it's not leading me to the destiny I keep saying that I want. So in essence, I had to allow myself to change. And so that's why when we talk about dating on such a global scale, it's so much more than just going out and just dating. And I think this is how we end up in these places where we kind of categorize things as successes or failures. And it's not necessarily just a success or just simply a failure. Sometimes failures are even better because at least you learn something in a failure a lot of times, or you learn it quickly in a failure because you're like, oh my God, that hurt. I don't want to do that again. But I think when we can look at the experiences that we're having, in addition to, filling some notch on a belt or moving up, or, for us as travelers, it's possibly that passport stamp, so you got the stamp, but was it all you wanted it to be? And sometimes we don't even know because we're not putting in enough time to explore and figure out what it is that we really wanted to get from it. Was it just to get the stamp? And sometimes it is. Sometimes like, yeah, I knew I wasn't going to like it, but I got that stamp because I was right next door anyway, the ticket booth was there, and sometimes that happens. But at that point, you set an expectation that that's all you're looking for. And that's okay because you walked in acknowledging, I think, Joy, you were saying earlier, Sonia, you were saying, knowing that this might come to an end. The happiness may simply be that 2 days that we're going to, spend together. So, okay. So for our closing, ladies, what would y'all like to just kind of put out there? Because I know we've talked about a whole bunch of different things. I think we've all come to the conclusion we ain't gonna bring no sand to the beach, at least not right now. Like not where we are right now. We don't have no sand to bring. But future-wise, you could, if you link up with someone and it turns into something great, you could end up doing that. But anything you all would like to share in closing?
I would just say don't worry about things that are outside of your control. Live life, enjoy life. Don't travel with that weight of, but if I travel here, what's going to happen with love? It's like, just live life, because you have to think, if you're from the US or whatever country you're from, when you're moving about your home country, do you think about, like, okay, I can't go back and visit home because, what's going to happen with love? It's like you never think about that when you're in your home country. You just, live. So just in life in general, live. And while you're out there enjoying life, the desires that you want, they'll come.
Yes, I love that so much. I think, what would I like to say? I think just one, being honest with yourself, but just having that honesty with self and realizing that you can have expectations, but if those expectations are keeping you from living and really experiencing, what's the point, right? Because I feel like for us here, we're out traveling, wanting to experience new things, wanting to learn ourselves better, learn different cultures, do all these things. And sometimes we cap ourselves off with so much mental chatter of wanting it to be a certain way when it doesn't have to be that way. Because when you are trying to force it to be a certain way, that's when you're actually repelling all the things that you want, right? So personally, for me, I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. If it's like an impromptu trip, if it's like, oh, I'm gonna go walk today, and tomorrow, if I don't feel like walking, guess what? It's not happening. If I want to go to a gallery the next day, cool, let's go to a gallery. Just let yourself experience these things that you desire. And then more of the things that you want will just naturally be attracted to you because that's the vibration that you're on, right? So I think that that's what I would say.
Fantastic. I'm just going to piggyback off of both of y'all and say yay to yay to all of that. Um, I'm in agreement. I think at the end of the day, take the time, especially if you're doing some traveling, to get to know yourself so that you can start to hit some of these, I don't know, milestones in life where you're less concerned about what it looks like from someone else's point of view or what someone else is going to say. Even as adults, we still do this. We still walk around and go, oh, we have that mantra. I don't care what nobody else think. That's a lie. That's a lie. Because if it wasn't, we would not, what's the word? Block or, be mindful of all the things that we do or do not post on social media, things that we do or do not say. But like you're saying, Joy and Sonia, to kind of take life in strides. It is what it is, and we're here for a reason, doing something that is not the norm yet. Interestingly enough, in 2022, so it's a funny paradigm to be in where we're doing this for freedom, but we also are silent spokespersons for the rest of the world. And so people do watch what you're doing. And this is a perfect example. And I think I mentioned this because we were all chatting yesterday. Of when you can be you and still set a positive example. When you don't change, and when I say don't change, you don't change because someone tells you, don't you dare come on and be talking about relationships, and you do all, whatever, all the don'ts and don't do's and stuff like that. Don't be dating outside of your race or your culture or your religious upbringing and your political standing, don't, you know, because we got to add politics into this now, you know, when you can ignore all of that, you know, hair, we should do a whole conversation on hair, y'all. Straight up, we need to do a whole video on hair. But you know, the nuances around, you know, you got to look a certain way. When you can ignore all of that and be you and still come out where you want it, on top of wherever you started, and it's a success for you. I think that's the most important thing, in realizing that for ourselves is what makes, that's what gives us that halo. That's what gives us that aura that people gravitate to. It's you know, it's ignoring the fact that how do I want to say this? We've accomplished or overcome something because we didn't have anything to overcome, because we weren't trying to prove anything. That's the point I'm trying to get to, where I don't need to overcome, because that wasn't my plight. It wasn't my fight, and it wasn't my mountain to climb. Sometimes we create mountains. I think, Joy, you said yesterday, we were talking, y'all, that's a whole nother thing. Join the book club. Join the book club. When you were talking about the wall, and sometimes, you know, you were talking about the wall as something to lean on. And sometimes we create walls. Sometimes we create mountains. Sometimes we create things because someone says that something exists. Like Sonia, you were talking about earlier, how bad something is going to be, or, oh no, this is not going to be what you expect, or, oh no, it's going to be so hard. We almost got to be comfortable with cleaning a slate. And if you're going to walk through the door, just walk through the door and allow what is going to happen. So, fantastic. So I don't know how much we helped with whether or not you should bring your sand or not, but I hope people kind of understand the perspective of this idea of traveling. You're not alone. You don't have to be alone. And yes, you can find companionship in this great big globe if it's truly what you want, void of all the things that, all the extra baggage that you might be carrying from, you know, whatever that past precept is. So I want to thank you, ladies, for joining. If you guys want to shout out your handles one more time, we are going to add it to the description as well. So you guys make sure you send it to me too, so I don't spell it wrong. But if you want to shout out your handles, that would be fantastic for everybody who's still on.
I am at Sonia Unapologetic on IG, and I'm Sonia Unapologetic on YouTube. So check me out.
Yeah, and I am Soul Kitchen Lifestyle on IG, and Soul Kitchen Lifestyle on YouTube, and The Joy McKeary on IG as well.
Fantastic. So, ladies, thank you guys. Did y'all enjoy this chat that we had this afternoon?
Yes, honey. Next time I'm bringing my glass of wine. I saw you over there, Ollie.
And it was so funny. I forgot to say, you know, I think it's one of my things. I just assume everybody knows, bring your libation with you. So for the next talk, you guys, stay tuned. You never know whose channel will be on for this next conversation. But again, we're going to get out of here, you guys. Feliz Domingo to everyone. Happy Sunday. And we will see you guys next time. Y'all know the drill. Toodles and noodles. Peace and hair grease.